Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is regarding, is it possible that Madeline was actually still alive when she was being propped up in the vehicle for those 2 hours? And we'll go over some timeline information and then look into that. But it's good to have the background first. So after going over the 836 page document multiple times now there's other parts that I haven't gone over as thoroughly, but the ping information and some of the words and statements made by Jennifer and Stephen Stearns are, I think, relevant. So let's start off by taking a look at Maddie. So Maddie's at a party right here over at her grandmother's house, and that's Jennifer Soto's mother. So based on the ping information, and it looks like this, these arcs that show a tower, and each cell tower has either 2, 3, or 4 sides generally. I think there's some that are actually 360 all the way around, but usually they're 3-sided or 2-sided. As you can see in this case right here, this is a 3-sided tower that's right in this position, and if you're inside of that arc, you'll ping off that tower. And there's multiple towers out there. So based on that information, I was able to put together the most likely route that the vehicles took during the night before the murder and also during the day of. So here's at 7:49 p.m. on the 25th, the night of the party. She's actually already leaving the party, it looks like. And then we move over to 750 right here on 417. Then a little bit further up on to 417. It's right in this area. Then 752. Obviously had driven up here and then around, came down this direction. 753. We're now on South John Young Parkway, and that's where she was. I think it was the sister of Jennifer who drove Madeline home. And so she turned here and then got on to South John Young Parkway and headed this direction. And so right now we're at 753, then 754, heading south. And then it said 754 to 755 in this area. I'm not really sure what that means or why it would slow down on a highway there. And then 802 right here. So that seems like there was some extra time just to get into this location. But again, I'm just basing it on where it appears to be aiming with multiple towers. And then 810 down in this area. And as you can see, the apartment is right in this area here. So you're here at 810. And then based on the ping information, it appears that she's all the way home at 8:30 to 8:36, but it doesn't seem like it should take anywhere near that time to get there. And I know that the sister of Jennifer lives somewhere in the area. Maybe they stopped there first. But so there's a delay getting there. Now what's interesting is how when we see Stephen Stearns go home, he pauses for a while too and makes sure that he's there after Madeline has been dropped off by the sister. He likely didn't want the sister to see that he was coming there that early. And maybe she wouldn't have left him alone with her. We don't know, because we don't know how everybody felt about Stephen Stearns during their relationship. Jennifer obviously trusted him. So now let's take a look at Stephen Stearns. Stephen Stearns' parents lived way down in this area here in Northport, and that's where he was living. So he drove up, and then at 8:11 he shows up right here in the ping data. I'm sure they can go back further, but they're just using the data as he's coming in to the Kissimmee area. So at 8:12 he's about right in this area based on the arcs and the ping data. 8:13 right here, he's on Highway 4, looks like. And 8:14 right around in that area. 8:15 here. Then 8:16 in this area. Then 8:17 turning right here, looks like on 417. Then almost to the WIRLO Bronson Memorial Highway, and then I think maybe takes this exit right here and gets onto West Osceola Parkway. Then 812 stays on there. Then 822 further down. 823, now we're starting to head into the area. This is the home down here. 823. Then 831 right here. So there's a gap. Obviously it doesn't take 8 minutes to get from here to here. So did he pull over somewhere and wait because he got a text message from Madeline saying, hey, we had to stop somewhere else, and now he's delaying his time because there's 8 minutes there, and it's right around the same time her phone pauses. I mean, literally the same time frame. If we remember, her phone was between 8:10 and then 8:30 she got back to the house. It could be sooner than that, but they don't have her phone at the home in the documentation that we're looking at. So that's in the same time frame, 8:30 to 8:31, and then 8:10 to 8:30. It seems like Madeline was somewhere else. Then at 8:31, the vehicle's right here. Then 8:32, heading down south, and then 8:41 is then at the apartment complex, or getting near it anyways. So it's 8:43 right there, 8:42 right around in this area, coming through the gate, and 8:41 right here. So 8:41 probably drove up like this, pulled in 8:42 right there, and then 8:43 back at Jen's apartment and Madeline's. And then Jennifer obviously works up in this area somewhere. Then at 10:08 she's heading down this direction. 10:09 right there. 10:10, 10:11 in this area. 10:12, 10:13 heading down the highway. Actually goes onto the same highway that Stephen Stearns drove on. Osceola Parkway. Then right here, and again that's the same way that Stephen Stearns drove, it looks like. And right there it was 10:15, 10:16, 10:17, 10:18 right here, heading south now. 10:19, 10:20. Now see, this just shows you how fast it should have taken. So here's 10:19, 10:20, and then 10:22 she's back at the apartment. So you notice how when she was right here, 10:18, she got to the apartment at 10:20. But it took Stephen Stearns, he was over here at 8:23 right here, and he didn't get to the apartment until I think it was 8:43. So that's a much larger gap. So it seems like he paused and waited somewhere. All right, now I'll start with some of the interviews that were done with Stephen Stearns and Jennifer Soto. So Stephen said he currently resides in Northport, that's with his parents, Florida, but comes to Kissimmee, Florida occasionally to spend time with Jennifer and Maddie. On February 25th, 2024, at approximately 8:45 hours, that's really accurate, he got there at about 8:43, Stephen arrived at Jennifer and Maddie's residence located, and that's the location that we just showed you. When he arrived, Jennifer was still at work, and he directed Maddie to get ready for bed. Once Jennifer arrived, she informed Stephen and Maddie she would like to sleep in and directed them to sleep upstairs in the guest room, and that was guest room number 4. The following morning, Stephen and Maddie woke up at approximately 7 to 7:15 hours to get an early start so they could purchase food from McDonald's before school. Maddie and he left the residence between 7:30 and 7:45 hours and headed towards the McDonald's located at 14001 Town Loop Boulevard, Orlando, Florida. On the way to McDonald's, Maddie slept the entire time, and once in the area, Stephen asked her if she still wanted McDonald's, to which she stated she did not. And Stefan puts that part about Maddie being asleep because he knows that she's seen on camera slumped over. All right, so now let's listen to what Jennifer says. Stefan informed Jennifer that Maddie had taken her nighttime medication and was getting ready for bed, which consisted of taking a shower. Jennifer arrived at the house from work at approximately, looks like 10:30, and sent Maddie and Stefan to bed at approximately 11 p.m. I asked Jennifer where Maddie and Stefan slept, and she stated upstairs in bedroom number 4. So asked about that morning and anything if she had seen Madeline, Jennifer said she stated she heard people in the kitchen, but was not sure if it was her specifically. Jennifer then stated the last time she had physically seen Maddie was on February 25th, 2024, 2300, when she sent her to bed. Now apparently she's saying she saw Maddie at this point, but could it be similar to when she said she saw Maddie getting ready for school at 8:15, but now it seems more likely that at 8:19, when Stefan Stearns came home, there was some noise going on in the kitchen, and she just assumed that was Maddie getting ready for school. So perhaps she didn't actually see Maddie, but it sounds like she's being honest in this account here, based on other information. It's accurate. On February 26, 2024, Jennifer got out of bed at approximately 9 a.m. and left the residence at 9:30 because she had a doctor's appointment scheduled at 10:15. Jennifer returned home between approximately 11 and 11:15 hours and believes Stefan was home at this time. I asked Jennifer what she and Stefan did when she reunited at the residence. Jennifer stated that she chatted for a little bit and she asked what happened. Up here you can see that he's saying that he made Maddie take a shower and he gave her some medication. So she might take medication for her ADHD, but is that him sort of setting up an alibi just in case she's found and there's drugs in her system, something like that? I guess we'll find out. All right, now let's take a look at the movements of Stefan Stearns on that morning. At 7:50, he's seen at the apartments leaving with Madeline's body propped up in the vehicle. Right here is the apartment complex. Now we also know at 7:36 or so, he's right here at the dumpsters, and he put there was a white plastic bag put into the dumpster, and it was retrieved later at a facility, but the white plastic bag contained a laptop and one white Croc shoe, and inside the backpack was the laptop. And that was at 7:36. 7:50, he's seen on camera leaving the complex area, and Maddie's body is slumped over. Then at 8:10, the vehicle is spotted up here, driving on John Young Parkway. And then 8:11 is actually heading back this direction. So 8:10 is after it already had gone up here and went to the McDonald's, right? And so again, leaving at 7:50, and then maybe at like 8:05 or so, it was over here by the McDonald's. And apparently he said, "Oh yeah, I did a U-turn." Even though he says he drops her off right here, wouldn't he have just dropped her off and went home instead of going home to get the clicker like he said? So he drives back up. He drives up here and he does the U-turn, comes back down. 8:10, he's right there. 8:11 here. And then 8:19, he is going through the front gate of the apartment complex, which is right here. And then likely gets to the apartment like, 8:21 or something like that. And that is very close to the 8:15 time that Jennifer said she saw Maddie getting ready for school. So it could be that that's what she heard, and she thought Maddie was getting ready for school. She did word it, though, that she saw her in one of the interviews. Then he stays at the house for 12 minutes or so. And we don't really know what's going on. Maybe just 10 minutes because there's driving time. But he's in the house doing something in the house. Now, Maddie's cell phone is in the house at this time. We don't know if he was doing turning it off or doing things like that. There is indications that at some points the cell phone wasn't on in the residence. Keep in mind that right at this point, When he enters the apartment complex at 8:19, Maddie's body is visible and it's slumped over. Then at 8:31, the vehicle is seen leaving the complex again after he spent those 10 or so minutes inside the residence. And her body is still propped up. Then 8:39, the vehicle is spotted up in this area right here. So it had driven all the way up there in 9 minutes. It made it all the way up here to Osceola Parkway. So isn't that amazing that just in an 8-minute period it got up here, but it took him like 25 minutes to get that same distance when he drove there the night before? And that was, later in the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening. This is during the, morning hours where people are driving around. So it just shows you that he did stop somewhere. And it also shows you that when Maddie was brought home by the sister of Jennifer, that there was also a pause there, and I'm wondering if that pause was communicated to Stephen Stearns to avoid him seeing the sister when he got home. And at 8:39 he was right there. Then 8:41 up in this area right here. 8:48 up here, so it's heading back up in this direction towards the school. Again, just picture she's propped up in the vehicle at this point. And then at 8:58 she is up here. Stephen Stearns is driving, she's in the vehicle. And then 9:01 over in this area. And so I'm not sure why he's doing this. She's probably still propped up in the vehicle. It's possible that he actually bent her down at this time though. And then at 9:02 in this area. And then again 9:02 right around in this area. Then there was a visual sighting of the vehicle as well right here at this gas station. And then another visual sighting. So that's probably the same visual sighting, but it was worded in two different places. And then 9:25 right around in this area. So in this area there was 9 minutes of time missing, maybe 7 or 8 minutes because there's driving time. And then 9:35 up in this area at this business right here. And then 9:44 is when the vehicle is seen exiting the parking garage up here. But at 9:42 he's up in the parking garage. And that's when apparently her body was taken from the passenger side of the vehicle and placed into the trunk of the vehicle, and she appeared to be limp. Now, is it possible that Madeline was still alive the entire time that the vehicle's being driven around, and then she was just drugged? So apparently she was drugged while he was doing some of the CSAM material that they found on his phone, like she appeared to be asleep. All right, so maybe she's on that same type of drug where she's completely unconscious and just laying there. And this is just a theory. This isn't what I generally believe. I think she was likely not alive while he was driving around. But I'm throwing this out there as a possibility because of the fact that she's still limp and rigor mortis hadn't set in yet. And we can take a look at that here in a minute. But wouldn't it be more safe for Stephen Stearns to be driving around for those 2 hours where her body's on display for everybody to see, for her to still be alive during those driving times? Now, I know law enforcement said in the early press conferences that they believed she was not alive at the time. And I don't know if that was based on autopsy and food digestion, or was it just what they believed, because they said they believed that. They didn't know for certain. And they hadn't received the surveillance footage in the hotel of her body being moved yet, because that was, I believe, on March 1st when they got that video information. So it shows Stephen Stearns moving her body from the passenger seat into the trunk, the front passenger seat, to the trunk while her body is limp. All right, now let's take a look at rigor mortis and the amount of time it takes to set in. So it says rigor mortis appears approximately 2 hours after death in the muscle of the face, progresses to the limbs over the next few hours. Now, is that why her mouth was agape in the videos, that it already had set in on her mouth, or was that just because she was completely passed out. You know how some people sleep with their mouth open? So rigor mortis appears approximately 2 hours after death in the muscle of the face, progresses to the limbs over the next few hours, completing rigor mortis between 6 to 8 hours. So if we use the 6 hours and we see that at 9:40 she's still limp, you go back 6 hours from there, you're at 3:40 in the morning as time of death possibly could be. But if you go to the extreme to the 8 hours, it could be 1:30 in the morning. That's assuming that it just absolutely, the timing is perfect on the 6 to 8 hours. But it also could mean that she was killed much later too, because the later, the more likely she's still not in rigor mortis. So that means if she was killed at like 4:40, 5:40, 6:40, 7:40, 8:40, 9:40, she's still going to be limp if she's just been drugged, for example, just prior to her being killed. So is it possible that while the vehicle was somewhere in this area here, because it was right here at 9:35 and then it showed up over here at 9:42, so there's like a 7-minute window here. Is it possible that he strangled her at this point because he finally concluded what he wanted to get done? So this would make this case more premeditated. That would mean that he intentionally wanted to kill Madeline because of something she said or for some other reason that we're not aware of, and that he drove her around intentionally to be viewed. That's the case no matter what direction you go here. And he wanted her to be viewed in the vehicle for surveillance purposes, for an alibi. And then after he knew that that was achieved in a more safe manner, meaning for himself. And by what I mean by safe for him is that, let's say when he was driving around for those 2 hours, if law enforcement had pulled him over, she would still be alive, and he'd say, yeah, I was just driving and she fell asleep. Let me take her to the doctor. I don't seem to be able to wake her up. And he would just go ahead and go there, and it would seem like a plausible story he could tell, because 2 hours of driving around with a body that's not alive is incredibly risky. But if she was still alive, there'd still be some outs, and even if he got arrested for other things, he still hadn't committed a murder yet. So after he completed the show of having her body visible for all to see driving around, now it was time to take her life, and he kills her. Then he takes her body out of the passenger front seat, places her in the trunk, and then he heads back to the house. So like at 9:49, the vehicle is down in this area, right here, 9:49. Then at 9:50, probably a little bit more south, right down here. Then 10:03, we have the vehicle down in this location. And then 10:05 down here. 10:06 still in the same area there. Then 10:44, the vehicle is back at the apartment. And maybe that's when he got home, and he and Jennifer wouldn't be home at this time because she's over at her doctor's appointment. And then Jennifer comes home later. Then he drives around, looks like he goes to a vape shop and so forth. But then around 12:45, he takes off and he heads down on Highway 192 right here, and then makes his way over to the crime scene. And as we know at that point, he drove down 192, headed down, I believe right here, went by a school, drove this direction, and then down like this, all the way down below this lake here, around on Hickory Tree Road. And then this is where a vehicle driving by spotted him parked with a flat tire, and law enforcement searched the area, and they found her body right here between the first and second bamboo tree right in this area. The car was parked right here. They found 2 tire tread pieces right in this area, and apparently he drove back this direction the same way he came. He left. So he goes up, and then he heads back up like this and makes his way to 192 and heads home again. And then once he gets home, which is right in this area, right here, he hangs out there for a while. Again, I don't know if he drives around to the vape shop again. And at some point, at 4:35, he stops at the dumpster right here and puts the tire that he had changed, the treads of the tire, into the garbage can. And I'm sure those treads are going to match the pieces that were found at the crime scene. All right? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think it's possible that she was still alive when she was propped up in the vehicle? I think it would make it much safer for Stefan Stearns. However, everything seems unplanned here. And that's one of the things that is sort of makes me, almost eliminate it, is that everything seems so rushed and unplanned. He's just driving around all over the place, throwing things in dumpsters. And, I guess we don't really even know why was he there that day? Was he there specifically to kill Madeline, or was he just there to celebrate the birthday? Things went wrong. She said something that he didn't want to hear, and he thought, oh my God, they're going to find out what I've been doing. And spur of the moment, he kills Maddie. Now, we've heard that she was strangled, but law enforcement hasn't said that. And I know that people do have sources, and they say that she was strangled, and it's absolutely possible. That's the way to kill somebody if you don't want to have a lot of forensic information around. But we don't know. I mean, was she drugged and that's how she died? Or was she strangled? I think somebody on Court TV has a source in law enforcement and said that that's what happened, but I think they came out and said that they're not verifying that, something to that nature recently. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. There's a lot of things to think about in this case. It's getting crazier and crazier with all the information that's coming out. And I want to thank everybody for watching. If you could hit that like button, share, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.